How about some comments here from the top player in the NHL? Connor McDavid on improving his game said this to The Score, quote, "When the game gets tight and in those moments that really matter, I think those are two things that you can really dial into and focus on. You're never going to get in trouble out there when you're playing well defensively, winning faceoffs, and focusing on the full 200-foot game." Like this guy has any areas to focus on. What do you make of his 200-foot game and maybe how his game has evolved in the first couple of years in the NHL?
It's improved. It's gotten better, but like every great player, he wants it better than good. And we already know the offensive side of things where he's most well known. He's miles and away the best player in the NHL. But defensively and face-offs, like it hasn't always been there. It hasn't been his focus. He's cheated on the offensive side of pucks to create offense. And I thought last year he actually took pretty significant strides defensively away from the puck, being much better. Now, he's not Patrice Bergeron, and he probably never will be. But he did take significant strides. And then as far as face-off goes, you know this. Face-offs are hard, no matter how good you are when you start in the NHL. Like, Connor McDavid's a great player, but he's a slight guy. He's not super strong, forearms, bulky. So it takes a while to figure out the league, figure out the importance of every face-off, get to used to the other centerman, the linesman. So not surprising that would take a little bit, but also not surprising that he's focusing on these parts of his game because he wants to become even more well-rounded than just the offensive dynamo.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to give Coach Tippett the flexibility, maybe to not, a lot of times Draisaitl will take the draws when they're out there together on the power play, but even 5-on-5. So that'll add just another notch for him on his belt in terms of the things that he could bring. The effort for me defensively was absolutely there last year, and he did make huge strides, as you said earlier. But I think he can sharpen his focus a little bit there still. And when you are the best player in the world, you got to keep driving yourself forward. You got to have things that you're working on, especially if you want to be a great captain. And one thing about Connor, he wants to be great at all of it, but he mostly just wants to win. And I think this is his way of expressing that.
One interesting thing, having played sometimes in a defensive role, if you can defend against other teams' best players, you get easy offense. And so to think if you can put McDavid out there against a guy who might be thinking offensive primarily, then he could take advantage and go the other way. And the other part about it, Zach Hyman's his new winger. Zach Hyman is a pretty proficient defensive winger as well, not afraid to go down low in his own end. Yeah. So if he gets a good rapport with Hyman, then that maybe help him defensively, also alleviate some of the responsibility if he's not the first guy back at his own end, where he doesn't have to take that on every single time on the ice. But that's bad news because he's going to play 24 minutes a night, and Draisaitl's going to play 23. So there's, three-quarters of the game is gone between those two. And if he can lock it down defensively and then does what he does offensively, what do you do? Yikes. What do you do against a guy like that?
Right.
You got to try to win the game in the 12 minutes those guys are on the ice. That's hard to do.